Hi, Todd VanDenburg here with VanDenburg Capital Management and another Uncommon Sense update. So in the past week, the markets have been sort of trading in a narrow range, sort of to be expected, as you may have noticed in the news that the markets have hit all-time highs. And as you know, I'm not a big fan of those kinds of phrases because the reality is that the market is always hitting new all-time highs. Otherwise, when the Dow was at 300 versus being at 27,300, the markets would have just stopped because at 300 the Dow was at an all-time high. So these market indices, they tend to rise as earnings continue to grow, and so what's happening with earnings? Well, we're just starting to get S&P 500 earnings right now, second quarter earnings, and about 9%, 8 to 9% of the S&P 500 has reported so far, and of those that have reported, a whopping 84% have actually beat analyst expectations. And I have reported in prior updates that the analysts have been so negative that it's not a shock to me that that actual earnings and revenue and profits are beating expectations, because the analysts were just being so negative that it's actually made it pretty easy for companies to beat those expectations. So we're going to continue watching this closely as the rest of the earnings come out. We just had some other news come out today about a tech company who beat earnings and their stocks rising. I mean, we should just expect that this is going to be the norm here in the coming weeks. We fully expect to see earnings continue to beat expectations. But what I wanted to talk about today is something that it's a problem we all have, and it has nothing to do with buy low, sell high. It has to do with procrastination. Now, what I mean by that is, when it comes to our financial lives and our lives in general, I guess, we tend to procrastinate on things that are, that maybe don't impact us in the short term, or that maybe are just annoying or a pain in the neck to deal with. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. Let's say that you're newly married, and your spouse is pregnant, and you don't have any life insurance, and you put off getting life insurance because who wants to think about their own mortality? Well, Murphy's Law says that if you're not prepared, the thing that you're not prepared for can and will happen. And so, we don't like to see people procrastinating on making sure that they're taking care of the protection elements of their financial portfolio that they should be looking into in order to make sure that their loved ones are taken care of should something happen to them. So making sure, or just like making sure that your home insurance is adequate to rebuild your home if something, if your house were to burn down. Making sure that your liability coverage on your auto insurance is enough to actually protect you and the people that you may get in an accident with. And as I said, life insurance, long-term care, disability, these are all examples of things that are maybe not so fun to get, but they're super important if you don't have them. And we don't like to wait until the very end when we think we really need them to get these things in place, because at the time that you may need them, you may not be able to get them. I'm going to give you one more example. People procrastinate on their estate planning all the time. And things like, I'm married and I have kids, and, but we're young, we're 40, nothing's going to happen to us. And then something does happen, and then we don't know who your kids get left to because you haven't left clear instructions. You haven't created advanced healthcare directives so that if you become incapacitated, your wishes about how much care you will receive to keep you alive are not well known. So then your loved ones are fighting with each other about, should they pull the plug or should they, use all measures to keep you alive? How about, a trust? If you have substantial assets or just are thinking that you might over the course of your lifetime, waiting to get those kinds of documents in place could subject your estate to probate. And if something were to happen to you, these are all examples of things where procrastination gets in the way of us actually being successful. I'll give you one other example, and it's sort of self-serving, but I'll give it to you anyway. Let's say that you've been managing your money for a long time, and you're now retiring, and you're just not sure that you're going to be the one that you want to follow it. But the idea of hiring a new financial advisor just seems like a pain in the neck, and you're really concerned about what might that financial advisor do to you. Are they going to try to sell you a bunch of stuff, right? So if you procrastinate putting that off and something happens to you, then you're leaving that job to your loved ones at a time when it's really the last thing they should have to think about is, who do I go to get help with my money and with my assets, when all these problems should have been solved well in advance. So the point of today's update is, don't procrastinate. I know we all do it. I know some of us are better at it than others, but it's really not good for you, and it can really cause untold grief to your loved ones should something happen to you, and then they have to pick up the pieces of the lack of preparation that you left behind. So if anybody has any questions about any of these things, about life, long-term care, disability, even your auto coverage, do you have enough? Your homeowner's coverage, are you properly protected? Your estate plan, are your investments well situated to be left to your heirs the way you want? These are all questions that we're happy to answer. Just give us a call, shoot us an email. We'll do whatever we can to help you. So that was your update. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like, give us a share, and I'll be back next week with another Uncommon Sense update. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to be the first to hear of more Uncommon Sense updates like these, please click the subscribe button below. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again.